you fall, watch you lose in control. I'm seeing red, watch you rise, watch you fall. Now I'm about to break, face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this?
What's going on, fight fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fixed Fights podcast with Kurt and Ben. As always, I'm Kurt. I'm here with my main man, Ben. Ben, how you doing this week?
Good, man. Went no hat because I'm like hats off for the fights we got going on this week. I'm pretty pumped. And also, I should say, we said before we hit record, we were talking about it. Congrats, Kurt, on like a 20-second heel hook win over the weekend. Looked real tricky, real smooth.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It was good to get back out competing. That was my first one since January 2020. So it's kind of good to knock the rust off. Hoping to. Yeah. I hope I can get back to being kind of what's the word? Like, I was on a roll prior to COVID, and then it kind of obviously derailed my roll. So I'm hoping to kind of get back there.
I feel like jiu-jitsu tournaments and competitions are really kind of springing up now because people are so like. I don't know if you've been to any local competitions in your area, like just like Grappling Industries or whatever you have in the Northeast. They're packed from what I've seen. So, I think you'll have a bunch of matches offered.
Let me ask you this really quick. Have you been to any Grappling Industries out in like your area?
I've been to a few Grappling Industries in Omaha and a few in Kansas City.
They were run good?
Yeah, for me, the issue was like 3 times they gave me my money back because there was nobody remotely close to my weight or skill level. I'd be like the only purple belt in the whole tournament. So now it's even less. But like, I feel like time-wise, they were run pretty well. Yeah,
because we actually had one 2 weekends ago in Connecticut, and it was one of the biggest shit shows I've ever been to. Yeah, it was horrible.
Like, it's kind of like a shoestring. You can tell it's like there's like 11-year-olds running the tables and shit like that. But like my biggest thing is just, I just need like a new person to roll with basically. But if they can give me that, I'm happy. But I can see it. I can see it lasting all day too.
Dude, it was bad, man. We got there at like 10 a.m. Our first guy was supposed to go. Our first person did not step on the mat until 3:30.
Oh.
It was like. We had one guy going at like 10 p.m., dude. It was a shit show. And they had no heat. They had no AC in the building. So it was like a fucking sauna for 12 hours. Yeah.
That sounds like what jiu-jitsu tournaments were like in like 2010.
I know. And then they got so much better. And now it's like, please don't resort back to this.
For real.
Yeah. All right, let's talk some MMA. No more shit in the Grappling Industries now. Let's talk about the fights that happened this weekend, dude. Excellent card. TJ Dillashaw, Corey Sandhagen. Honestly, that card delivered, I think, from the first fight all the way through. There was tons of just bangers, tons of finishes, some judging that we need to talk about. But let's start at the top, the main event. Corey Sandhagen, TJ Dillashaw. Dude, that fight was freaking awesome. And I gotta say, man, I've watched it a couple times. I don't think, we talk about this a lot. I don't think you can call that a robbery, right? Whether you scored it for Corey or TJ. But, dude, that was probably one of the closest fights I've watched in a long time. I really can say, like, that was a coin flip. Either guy, I think you can make a case for. What did you think about the fight, and who did you score it for?
Watching it live, I scored it for Sandhagen, but I loved the fight. I'm with you that it was super close in like competition ways, right? Really like evenly matched, I think, but also like close in the judging sense is it creates those like kind of common questions about judging, like how do you score Dillashaw holding him against the fence and like basically landing knees at will? Like how much is that worth? I feel like this was a super, super tricky fight to judge, even for people that know a shit ton about judging. So me watching it on my couch, I scored it 3-2 for Sandhagen, but when they announced Dillashaw, I was like, whatever. Like, judging aside, I thought the fight was fucking phenomenal, though. I think it like pains me. Dillashaw is a super unlikable guy in so many ways, but you cannot dislike how he fights, which is like all heart. Like he looked tiny to Sandhagen here, and I felt like he was able to kind of bully him around for much of the fight. I don't know. I was super impressed with Dillashaw.
Yeah, I honestly I was really impressed with Dillashaw too. I scored it for Dillashaw, but super super close, man. I think the one thing that I think kind of got Corey was he had stretches of, I don't want to say inactivity, but there was just stretches where Dillashaw was just moving forward on him. And again, like here's how you score the fight, right? It's like Corey landed more damage, but Dillashaw was probably more active, controlled the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Dillashaw was also landing a lot. It's just his punches were not as like effective as Corey's, right? Where Corey was like snapping his head back, he cut him up, right? So I think if Corey's a little bit more active, I think he recognized that as well.
And you know what I was gonna say, man, is I really think I 100% agree that Sandhagen needed to be more active, but I do think part of that is credit to TJ Dillashaw, basically like taking away Sandhagen's kicking game
Yeah.
early in the fight by like it was clearly Dillashaw's plan to move inside on Sandhagen's kicks. Every time Sandhagen would kick, Dillashaw would like close the distance and throw a punch or a takedown. Basically, I feel like that kind of froze Sandhagen's kicking game, and then in turn Dillashaw could stand in front of Sandhagen with his hands down, moving his head. Part of the time I was screaming, throw a kick at his head, but at the same time, I think Sandhagen was tentative to throw any kicks, which is like a credit to Dillashaw's approach to that fight. But man, I loved it. I thought if Dillashaw was going to win, it was via the wrestling, but it's so hard to score, like you're saying, those that wrestling control. Dillashaw was not doing nothing though while he was controlling
No, he was
Sandhagen,
knee in
right?
the body, knee in the legs.
And that has to be worth something. He's constantly attacking him.
Yeah, I think TJ fought a very smart fight, and especially given the knee injury that he had, I believe in like the first round, he had that nasty cut. Props to the doctors, the ref, and his corner for keeping that thing under control and not stopping the fight. Man, it's one of those fights where I think obviously like I don't think Sandhagen's stock falls too far from this. I think it was an awesome fight against a guy that proved that, yes, he was off for 2 years, but he's still one of the best fighters in the world. And for Bantamweight and for TJ Dillashaw, he just, inserts himself right back into the top of that division. Like he never left, man. I was super, super impressed with TJ Dillashaw coming back after 2 years. Obviously, the last fight was horrible for him, cutting down to 125, getting stopped by Henry Cejudo. And then he takes just on a killer in Corey Sandhagen and looks great doing it. I was really impressed, honestly, with both guys here, man.
Yeah, especially Dillashaw. It's hard to, I mean, stylistically against those top guys, I feel like he could, like, who's to say he can't win the belt again, with what he brings to the
Absolutely.
table. I love Peter Yan and I love Aljamain Sterling, but I think Dillashaw has paths to victory against both of them.
I mean, here's the big question. Who is next for TJ Dillashaw? It was announced October 30th. They are going to finally run back Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, so at least we're going to get that fight. But do you think Dillashaw waits for the winner of that, or do you think he jumps in and fights maybe like a Rob Font or something?
I mean, he seemed open to fighting a guy like Rob Font in his post-fight interview. Like right after he was like, "I really want the champion," or if it's gonna be a long time, I'll fight whoever in the top five. So, I mean, if you look down the rankings, Rob Font is the only other one that realistically makes sense. So, I don't know. I feel like that was a flip. As soon as he said that on the mic, I was like, "Why did you just give away all of your bargaining power?" Like the UFC is gonna tell you, like, "Oh, fine, then fight Rob Font,"
Yeah,
which is a risky fight for
it is.
TJ Dillashaw, but. I think he probably has calmed down and thought, let's wait for the title fight. Because I think he's basically got that fight. There's no reason the UFC wouldn't give him the next title shot unless something crazy happens with Sterling Yan again.
I think Corey or TJ versus Rob Font is a freaking awesome fight. And yeah, I honestly like TJ's chances against either Peter Yan or Aljamain Sterling, whoever comes out of that. I mean, Yan versus TJ would be such a fun stylistic matchup that they're just both so high level on the feet, man. Here's another question for you. Has bantamweight, and I'm not even talking about the UFC, I'm talking about as a whole in MMA, has bantamweight surpassed lightweight as possibly the best division in the sport?
At least at this moment, I feel like, because lightweight, it feels like there's less fresh talent. I guess Islam Makhachev is up there, but look at the lightweight rankings, dude. You still got. I'm not no disrespect to these guys. I'm just saying they've been. I feel like this lightweight division is a little bit more hashed out. Guys like RDA is ranked 7. Tony Ferguson on a 3-fight losing streak at number 6. Michael Chandler is exciting to me. Beneil Dariush is exciting to me. But even guys like Gaethje, Poirier, it's like that they fought each other, right? There's more going that's already happened there. Whereas at bantamweight, I feel like there's a lot more going on, like fresher fights, and all of them feel like bangers, right? I think I named when we did our 2021 wish list. I think my number one most wanted fight is a Bellator fight we're going to talk about soon, but also on that list was Aljamain Sterling against Peter Yan for a reason, because bantamweight is filled with interesting style matchups that basically always deliver.
Yeah, dude, it is a really good division. And even if you look outside of it, Sergio Pettis and Bellator is looking phenomenal. Koji Horiguchi's out there. Demetrius John. One's got some great guys. I mean, it is stacked. We were supposed to get Magomedov and Rufian Stotts this weekend. I mean, it is just a stacked division. I think obviously there's a little bit more star power at 55, but man, these bantamweights are freaking studs.
I mean, a guy like Marlon Moraes is just like floating around there, and I feel like if there was like a middleweight version of Marlon Moraes, people would be losing their shit for him, and he's just like kind of an exciting bantamweight, that's how exciting bantamweight is.
Yeah, man, it is a freaking awesome division. There was 2 other really good bantamweight fights on this card. Co-main event, Julian Paiva gets a win over Kyler Phillips. This was another one where I feel like I didn't necessarily agree with the judges, but maybe I thought Kyler Phillips deserved a 10-8 in that first round, right? So I think at best you probably give Paiva maybe a draw, but 2 judges gave it to him 29-28, and that second and third round, were very, very close.
Yeah, I was not surprised by the draw here. I will admit that I saw the results and then went back and rewatched this fight. So I was not scoring it live. I was going it with the aid of knowing it was going to be a weird decision going in. But yeah, it was super close for sure. That first round, I feel like I assume all 3 of the judges gave Kyler Phillips or just 2 of the judges gave.
No, just 2 of the judges gave him a 10-8. No, I'm sorry. One of the judges gave him a 10-8. The other 2 scored it a 10-9.
I see.
And then gave the second and third to Paiva.
That makes sense. I feel like that was a clear 10-8, but maybe I'm too generous with those.
I thought so too, man. He dropped him 3 or 4 times. It was a crazy fight. Also a crazy fight, Adrian Yanez taking out Randy Costa after, dude, that first round was not going good for Adrian Yanez, but man, he's got a hell of a chin on him. And, dude, he is just all freaking action. Again, I've said it before. I kind of got the jump on Adrian Yanez from being on the prelim primer with Daniel Freeland. But, dude, he is coming, man. He is super, super exciting. Again, look at this. A bantamweight that's not even ranked that we're just gushing about.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got on that train. I'm glad that you got me on that train, man. He's legit. He is, and I don't know. Anybody who's a knockout artist at 35 is like we were talking about with Marlon Moraes. Super exciting. If you can starch people, he's like a little bit more tamed, like Marlon Moraes, Corey Sandhagen mix going on.
Yeah, dude, he is freaking awesome. Darren Elkins, the damage, does it again, gasses out his guy from beating him up. Darren Elkins, man, dude's a stud. I think he said it after the fight perfectly. He just wants, he's 37 years old, just wants fun fights. The guy is always in fun fights. Dude, I'd honestly like to see Darren Elkins in a Bryce Mitchell scrap. I think that'd be a fun one on the mat, dude.
Oh, yeah. That would make sense. Who else? I would also watch. I was about to say Darren Elkins against Ryan Hall, but then I forgot that's one of the few people Ryan Hall's actually fought. And it wasn't that fun, I guess.
No, it wasn't that fun. But, even like a Ilia Topuria. Darren Elkins at that time was ranked 5th or 6th in the division with 8 wins in a row. Obviously he's a little bit far off of that now, but man, he is always in fun fights.
Yeah, there was a while where he was super relevant. 2015 to 2018, he went undefeated.
Yeah.
And then he ran into Alexander Volkanovski. So no shame in that.
Last fight on the main card, and this was a big one. What did you think of the judges' call between Macy Barber and Miranda Maverick?
I strongly disagreed with it, but I'll be honest, man. I feel like it feels a little blown out of the water, the scoring criteria here, or like people claiming that this is like an all-time robbery, because I feel like it's not. It will be forgotten.
Yeah, it's not an all-time robbery, but I think Miranda Maverick won that fight 2-1. I will say though, Barber did come on strong in the third round, where it seemed like Maverick faded slightly, but I thought Miranda Maverick put in enough work in the first and second to get that decision.
Yeah, for sure. I think Barber maybe has better body language. I don't know how you like. I think 100% agree with you. 2 rounds to 1 for Maverick here.
Yeah. Anyone you want to shout out on this prelim card?
Fucking Mickey Gall proving me wrong. I'm always surprised when this guy wins, which sounds like an insult, but it shouldn't be. But I kind of like, it's weird that he's still kicking around in UFC fights to me.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really freaking good too. Brandon Allen defeating Punahele Soriano too.
Big win.
Big win. Great fight as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the UFC event this weekend. Headlined by Urijah Hall and Sean Strickland, which is a good fight and a very relevant fight. But after that, man, this card falls off. But let's talk about the main event. Urijah Hall, Sean Strickland. I got to think, man. Well, actually, let me ask this. If Urijah Hall wins this fight, does he get a title shot next? He's four straight wins, but the last 2 wins, over a very aged Anderson Silva and obviously the terrible leg break over Chris Weidman. But it would be 5 straight wins.
He's been talking about it. I just don't think he's going to get it. I think he's the UFC is in no hurry to get him to a title shot at this point because he's had these like losing streaks in his career. He hasn't been super consistent. This is the longest, and if he wins this weekend, will be the longest for sure win streak of his UFC career. I don't know, man. There's all these guys. If the rankings mean anything, he should not get a title shot. Right? Look at all the guys ahead of him. He needs to fight somebody of a Cannonier type. I would bet before he's around there. Even though this win streak, yeah, I think it's important to note how he got the last 2 wins. Even that Anderson Silva win, that was Silva's last fight in the UFC. I don't know how much it's worth at that point.
Sean Strickland himself is on a 4-fight win streak. Yeah, I mean, Darren Till is going to be fighting Derek Brunson. Yeah, Derek Brunson's on like a 5-fight win streak as well. And Darren Till, they love him. Yeah, you still got Cannonier.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like hasn't Adesanya like flirted with the idea of fighting Urijah Hall before out of respect?
It was like after I want to say it was after Urijah Hall fought Anderson Silva. Adesanya was like in the building and they kind of had words, and Hall was like legitimately angling for a title fight then. Like, you know what? Like, I know I've had my ups and downs, but I've like paid my dues in the sport. I think I deserve a title fight. And I think Adesanya, if I recall, like kind of entertained the idea.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, what do you think about the actual fight? Who do you favor here?
I think Urijah Hall, but I almost always pick him. And until lately, I guess I've been wrong more about half the time. So maybe I think he's hopefully in the right headspace. However, it's hard to like assess him where his head's at based on how he won his last fight. Even his last 2 fights, he was super, super emotional after he beat Anderson Silva. And then the way he won his fight against Weidman, who knows with this guy. But I think for the most part, his head's in the right place. And I think he has the for sure skills to beat Sean Strickland.
Do you know what the odds are?
The odds like crazy.
That's what my reaction was. Give me what you think the odds are.
I favor Urijah Hall, but I bet he's like an underdog. He might be like plus 145.
Dude, Sean Strickland is between a minus 215 and minus 225 favorite. I would have thought that Urijah Hall would have been the favorite, a slight favorite, even a pick 'em, but that seems way the fuck out of proportion.
It's because he has those losses, dude. Look at this is I mean, his win streak is, I think, I can agree that Uriah Hall's current win streak is less impressive maybe than Sean Strickland's, especially the way it came against Weidman.
The last two fights are, with
But
Weidman and
also, people
Silva.
are remembering. So Uriah Hall lost to Paulo Costa in not a great way, right? He was winning that fight until he was losing it. But his losses before then, you got to go back to 2016, and it's like Gegard Mousasi,
Who he
Derek
knocked out.
Brunson. Yeah, that was a rematch, right?
Yep.
Derek Brunson, Robert Whitaker. Like,
I know.
I don't know. I think people are unfairly writing off Uriah Hall, and I think skill wise, like, what is Sean Strickland going to take him down? I don't think
No,
so.
I would imagine it's going to take place on the feet.
And yeah, why? Where's all the confidence? I'm trying to think of Paulo Costa just kind of bullied Uriah Hall to beat him. Gegard Mousasi took him down to beat him. Derek Brunson just like spammed a bunch of punches, which is not something Sean Strickland's going to do. Like, you have to go back to Robert Whitaker to think of a guy that like straight up out kickboxed Uriah Hall. So I'm hard pressed to think that Sean Strickland, who is a good boxer, can really like, I don't know, put it on Uriah Hall and stay safe himself the entire time.
Yeah, I think those odds are kind of crazy. I kind of favor Uriah Hall to win a close one, but nonetheless, it should be a great fight. Again, this kind of thins out. It looks like I know they lost a couple of co-main events for this card. Right now, it looks like Kyung Ho Kang versus Rani Yaya is in the co-main event. Crazy that Rani Yaya is still co-main eventing cards. Rani Yaya has been around forever, since the WEC days. Cheyenne Baez is on this card. Zaruk Adashev versus Ryan Benoit should be fun. Anyone else you're looking forward to on this card?
Man, this is rough going. It's Trevin Jones is fun. That he came into the UFC with a major upset win, and I think people had written him off. He's a fun guy to watch. Philip Rowe, who I know mostly from competing in like jiu-jitsu lately. Rafa Garcia, former Combate Americas champion, super fun guy to watch fight. I would tune in for any of his fights actually, and he's buried on the prelims of this pretty weak card.
I mean, I'm sure it'll be fun. It's just name value wise.
It's Bellator 263 prelims.
Yeah, right, exactly. But speaking of Bellator 263, let's not waste any more time. This is the fight that we've been waiting for. Dude, me and you were both calling for this fight all the way from last year in the midst of the Featherweight Grand Prix. We get the fight. We are a couple days away. This fight is going on Saturday night, not Friday night like Bellator usually does, but Saturday night. It is Patricio Pitbull defending his Bellator world title against the undefeated AJ McKee. Dude, I gotta say, man, and let me ask you this. Maybe not name-wise, but dude, is this the best fight that Bellator has ever put on?
It might be. I'm trying to think of, I mean, in retrospect, right, like Chandler and Alvarez comes to mind, but when that fight happened, there wasn't all this buzz around it. There wasn't all this build-up. It wasn't a huge fight.
And again, we haven't seen this fight yet, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
like I'm thinking of their best fights, but I'm trying to think of skill-wise. I mean, it's hard to think of other ones. I mean, I was really into like Lima Mousasi. That fight didn't really pan out to be super fun. It's hard to think of other major Bellator fights that I've ever been this like hyped for.
I mean, there's been a lot of Pitbull fights, like the Pitbull Strauss fights were great. Pitbull Pat Curran back in the day, but like Pitbull Chandler. But like Pitbull is like the face of Bellator, right? And he's one of those Bellator guys that is just, obviously he's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. He's one of the best featherweights in the world. And he's taken on a guy in AJ McKee that is purely Bellator homegrown. AJ McKee is 17-0, all 17 fights under the Bellator banner. So he's one of those guys that you've seen come up through Bellator. They've done the right things with him, and now he's getting his shot at Pitbull, dude. Yeah, we got to see the fight happen, but I think at least hype-wise, this might do it for me, man. This one is really freaking good.
Especially because it's been cooking for so long, you know? Like, we've been probably this as soon as the Featherweight Grand Prix was announced in the names, like that fight came to mind. It's like, oh shit, that could happen. And then because of COVID, that that rivalry, that potential for this fight to happen just simmered a little bit longer, right? Because that they started the Featherweight Grand Prix in 2019?
20, yeah, 2019, yeah.
So damn, and it wasn't until just last year that we knew this fight for sure was going to happen, but the potential for it happening, and I'm sure if you're as tuned in as we are, I was thinking, oh, this would be super dramatic if Pitbull retains his title all the way through the Grand Prix, and Bellator's homegrown star continues to be undefeated, and fights for a title. The story is so baked into this fight. Never mind how exciting the fight I think itself is going to be, skill wise. It's also a great story here.
And look at, dude, if you look at their 3 fights to get to this fight. Pitbull defends his title against Juan Archuleta, who is an absolute stud, and then he stops Pedro Carvalho and Emmanuel Sanchez. AJ McKee runs through Georgie Karahanyan, Derek Campos, Darian Caldwell, all finishes. I mean, these guys both fought 3 tough-ass fights and finished, 5 out of the 6 fights, where Pitbull's only decision was a 5-round beating of Juan Archuleta. I mean, these guys, it really doesn't get any better than this, man. The odds are pretty damn close, which I think is fair. Right now, Pitbull sits as a slight favorite, like a -120 favorite, which I think is fair. I'm wondering how Pitbull's going to deal with AJ McKee's size and length, because AJ McKee is huge for the division. He's got a lot of size. He's really good on the feet. He's got a lot of power. But, dude, if the fight hits the mat, as good as Pitbull is, AJ McKee's a scary dude on the mat.
He's so, unorthodox, too, with the way he grapples. You could tell he's, really kind of perfected whatever MMA grappling is. I think AJ McKee is, really, really good at that. And I do think the size could be an issue, especially because Pitbull, obviously a lightweight champion. He's also, he's big for a featherweight still, but you look back at that Juan Archuleta fight, there were moments where a lot of that fight, Archuleta actually looked bigger than Pitbull, which is a mindfuck considering Archuleta went back down to bantamweight and won the title there after this fight. But nonetheless, there were moments where Archuleta was able to kind of physically control Pitbull. And I don't think we've seen AJ McKee do obviously we've never seen him do 5 rounds, but we've also, I don't think, seen him implement a wrestling heavy game attack the entire fight. So I'm not sure he can do that, but I'm with you that the size here, especially on the mat, I think Pitbull is much more traditional, and I think his guillotine game is super scary to deal with. But I think AJ McKee's front headlock game is equally scary to deal with. And like I said, he's super unorthodox. He'll jump on submissions from all kinds of different spots. The McKeeatine, if you look after you did that video, which people should watch on YouTube if you haven't, Submission of the Year, Kurt explaining it. In that video, you talk about AJ McKee throwing elbows from his guard to elicit a reaction. Man, when I was rewatching his fights this week to kind of get pumped for this, you see him do that a lot, where he body triangles from the guard just so he can land elbows. And it makes guys not want to take him down, which honestly is something Pitbull leans on, the takedown. When things get going hairy, Pitbull will go shoot a double leg to just kind of chill in the guard, which is not something you can easily do against AJ McKee.
Yeah, you have to be very, very careful in AJ McKee's guard. The one thing I like about AJ McKee, too, is he, exudes confidence, where, I mean, obviously a lot of guys do, but I don't think the moment is going to be too big for AJ McKee. You know what I'm saying? Some guys get to this moment and then they kind of freeze against, the storied champion in Pitbull, but I don't think the moment is going to get to AJ McKee, man. I'm expecting fireworks in this fight.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, dude, I'm so stoked about it. I can't believe it's finally here.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see. I hope it goes 3, 4, even 5 rounds almost, because I want to learn that about AJ McKee, because I think there could be questions all right, well, how does he react when the going gets tough? We haven't seen a ton of that in his career. Even offhand, it's hard to think. I know that Derek Campos fight, he found himself on bottom a little bit. In any event, I want to see how AJ McKee always comes out guns blazing, which could get him into trouble here, but I want to see what happens, let's say, if he gets dropped by Pitbull. How does he respond? Because, skill-wise, he's 100% there. But he just doesn't have the experience yet to like prove to us, right, that he is like this like generational talent.
I think the winner of this fight, you can clearly say, is a top 3 featherweight.
Oh yeah.
You know, I think I'd be confident to say right now Pitbull can go with the Volkanovskis and the Max Holloways of the world. If AJ McKee wins, I think he's right there as well. I was listening to Morning Combat this week, and they, I think it was like a fan submission, posed a good question. Let's say Pitbull wins this fight. Would you put Pitbull on the Mount Rushmore of Brazilian fighters?
Ooh. Oh man, that's a great question.
It's a great question, right?
I'd have to think who else is up there.
Obviously,
offhand.
Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva, Jose Aldo.
Royce Gracie, maybe.
Royce Gracie. Then who are? I mean, maybe. I would put maybe a guy like Verdum or Big Nog above him, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think he's in that discussion for sure. For sure.
I agree. I think he is in that discussion. I mean, if he wins this fight, and you look what he's done, he's won the tournaments before, he's defended his belt, he's lost the belt, he's won it back, he's fucking knocked out Michael Chandler, who was seconds away from being the UFC 155 champ. I mean, this guy's resume is insanely good.
And I would add too, the win over AJ McKee is huge here because of AJ. If you look at AJ McKee's record, he was not coddled on the way up.
No.
Like the guys he was fighting all had winning records and more experience than him. Like all of his guys up until, man, you got to get his, when he was 12-0, he fought Daniel Crawford, who was 10-2. That was the first time he fought somebody with an equal amount of experience. So AJ McKee was brought along, you know, through like not easy fights. So I think a win over him is huge for Pitbull's career at this point.
Yeah, I agree. It's time, man. Who do you think is going to walk out of there with the $1 million and the Bellator Featherweight Championship?
Man, I'm very unconfidently picking Pitbull because I side with his experience first and foremost. Like, you know, he can manage a 5-round fight. He is, above all else, like efficient, right? He's like a sniper on the feet with the counter strikes, but he's not doing anything that he doesn't have to. Even when he gets tired and goes to grappling, he does that efficiently. So, not to say that AJ McKee cannot manage a 5-round fight, and I doubt AJ McKee's heart or anything. We've just never seen him in that situation. I also think McKee can be a little reckless on the feet, which will really get him into trouble against Pitbull, especially Pitbull lately, I feel like, is really leaning on his counter striking and like punches, just like sniper counter strikes, basically. So I favor Pitbull there. However, I think if it gets on the mat, man, it's anybody's game. I could see AJ McKee taking his back. I could see Pitbull even wrapping up a guillotine. But I think it's much more Pitbull's fight to lose once it's on the feet. So I'm going with Pitbull by decision.
I'm siding with Pitbull as well, a lot of for the reasons you named. Again, the big thing for me is I'm just wondering how Pitbull is going to deal with AJ McKee's size and length. Is he going to be able to get on the inside? Is he going to be able to get the takedowns when he needs to? And yeah, how is he going to deal with, if he does get a takedown, AJ McKee off his back, who is super, super dangerous. But yeah, like you said, man, I like Pitbull's just the veteran savvy. He's been in these big moments time and time again. I mean, dude, Pitbull's been fighting for world titles since what, like 2012, 2013? I mean,
yeah.
He won his first Bellator title, or he fought for his first Bellator title against Pat Curran all the way back in 2013. He won his first title in 2014. So, I mean, this guy has been in title fights, fighting in these moments for what, 7 years now?
Yeah. And AJ McKee was an amateur in 2014, by the way.
I know. It's crazy. It's like the old guard versus the new guard, man. This is such a good freaking fight. Again, if you don't watch Bellator as much as the UFC, if you're listening to this, man, get your Showtime subscription. They do a free trial. Watch this freaking fight this weekend. It is going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm pumped. The last thing I will say about the in-cage action is I can't tell if AJ McKee actually has like a full striking game. Like if he does anything on purpose, right? I hope we get to see just a lot more of AJ McKee's game like fleshed out in this fight.
Yeah, I agree, man. I hope so.
Yeah.
Looking down the rest of this card, it's honestly a pretty damn solid card. Co-main event between Mads Burrell and Emmanuel Sanchez should be fun. Usman Nurmagomedov taking on Manny Muro. That is a good fight. Usman Nurmagomedov obviously is a monster. You just spoke to Brett Primus. He's back in this card taking on Islam Mamedov. That should be a good fight as well.
Yeah, if people haven't read that interview, he like went the fuck off on Bellator, talking about like, you know, because he's fighting a guy who's never fought in Bellator and is like super, super dangerous. Islam Mamedov was a PFL. I don't think he was a champion, but he was like undefeated in PFL or something. In any event, Brett Primus super, super pissed off that he's not getting like a ranked guy in Bellator, and he's not hiding it. And he sounded like he like wanted to jump ship if they don't give him like a title fight or a #1 contender fight after this.
Well, it's weird. Like after Pitbull won the title, that division's just been kind of stagnant. Again, like it's weird that Bellator's got all these stacked divisions, but 55 does not seem to be one of them. I mean, yeah, dude. Mamedov is 19-1.
Yeah, and has never fought in Bellator.
Only loss was back in 2009. So yeah, that's a tough dude to fight. If you're a Brent Primus, but yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with this belt. I would imagine if Brent Primus wins, they'd probably try to get him lined up for a title shot. But who knows?
I don't know. I don't get the sense Bellator particularly likes him. Because he was also like signed to fight Alexander Shabley, who's like making his Bellator debut.
Another stud.
They're not giving Primus the fights he wants, which is a signal to me that they're not going to push him into a title shot. And also he's like being super loud about his disappointment with Bellator to like anybody who will ask, including
It's great.
me.
You don't hear that much. Usually guys are pretty satisfied with Bellator.
You know, I think Bellator, Scott Coker, they have their favorites, and I think that's pretty obvious. I think a guy like Patricio Pitbull is one of those favorites. Guys like Peter Queally is one of those favorites. MVP, who we can talk about, I guess, also for sure, obviously one of their favorites. And it's like kind of known. So I assume other fighters kind of have that gripe, but they just kind of keep it to themselves. Whereas Brett Primus is like, yeah, obviously they don't want me in like relevant fights, and these rankings don't mean anything.
I mean, we'll see. He's got a tough fight this weekend.
Yeah.
Also, like Goiti Yamauchi facing Chris Gonzalez, main card opener. Yamauchi is always super fun to watch. Gonzalez 6-0, coming off win over Urijah Huerta. Vanessa Porto is on this card. There's like a Magomed Sharapov on this card, probably going to be a stud. We've talked about it before, man, but Bellator is doing a really good job picking up the fighters from that region of the world.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is one of their better offerings. I feel like their prelims kind of trail off, which we haven't. I feel like lately their prelims have been fucking awesome. But yeah, Vanessa Porto, I'm excited to see her fight again in Bellator. I'm pumped about this, man. Obviously, this main event is like, it's the tits. This is such a good fight, both because of the story and like what's actually going to happen in the cage.
Yeah, one of the best fights of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very confident in saying that. All right, let's go to some odds and ends before we get out of here. There's a couple fights that were announced. Just take a peek down this. Hey, when is boxing? Oh, okay. Vitor Belfort, Oscar De La Hoya going on September 11th. Any sort of interest in that? Probably not, right?
None. I mean, whatever. I'll see the highlights, I'm sure.
Oh, how about this one? Did you hear that Anderson Silva might box Logan Paul?
I did. I saw that somebody like Dylan Dennis like leaked that message or something.
Yeah.
It's believable. It's so believable.
I'm all right with it. The only thing is, like, Anderson's a showman, right? And he has said he is just having fun at this point. So do I think Anderson Silva's going to necessarily go out there and try to knock Logan Paul's block off? No, it's probably going to look like what happened with Floyd and Logan. Obviously, if Floyd wanted to, he probably could have destroyed Logan Paul, but he was there for a show, so I kind of think that we are going to get the same type of thing if an Anderson Silva-Logan Paul fight happens. But look, if Anderson wants to look good and make a bunch of money along the way, I can't hate on it too much.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, 3-4 years ago, you hear that news and you think, what? That's outrageous. That'll never fucking happen. But now we hear that and it's just like, oh yeah, sure. Like that's likely.
Tatiana Suarez, as soon as we were getting pumped about her jump up to flyweight, she is officially out of her 266 bout. She's headed to surgery. Dude, I kind of fear that we might never see Tatiana Suarez fight again. I mean, it's just injury after injury after injury. She's not getting younger. I mean, how many surgeries can you go through before, sadly you call it quits? I don't know.
Yeah, I was looking for a headline that I had read. The headline is vows to make greatest comeback in sports. So I like her attitude. I mean, I like that she hasn't given up, but yeah, she is. Remember how excited we were to have like a wrestler of her caliber
I know, dude.
in that division. I guess we kind of do now with Kaneko Murata, but she's not quite as scary as Tatiana Suarez was. It's a shame, man. It's a shame.
Yeah, it really is a shame. Some big matchups that were announced. We're getting the rematch of Douglas Lima and MVP. That's going to be taking place on October 1st. Excited about that one. I think, again, I'm glad that MVP is taking a step up. I think that's a fun rematch. I'd love to see Douglas Lima maybe knock him out again.
Yeah, I like that it's happening under these circumstances, not for a title.
Not for a title, yeah.
And I guess, you know what? If MVP beats Lima in the rematch, he can get a title shot.
There's a title shot, absolutely.
But yeah, I think hopefully Lima, it would be rough for this podcast, especially this podcast, if like MVP goes out there and starches Lima.
Yeah. Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington 2, finally set for November 6th at Madison Square Garden. I am glad that we are finally going to get the rematch, or at least get the belt defended. There's so much stuff going on at welterweight. A big fight coming up next weekend. I'm glad that these guys are going to fight, whether it was Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, whoever. I'm just glad to see Kamaru Usman back in there defending the title so we can move on with this division.
Yeah, I'm not happy about Covington getting the title shot over like Leon Edwards, but I'm with you. Like at least we're popping off now. Like let's get it
exactly
going.
Right. Get the division rolling. Couple other things I kind of had my eye on. Let me see. I wanted to ask you one. Oh, yeah. Zant loses this weekend. Like, see, Paige is a big star, but what do you think she does here? Again, like we talked about it when this first happened, right? Like Bellator seemed just like the perfect fit for her, and for whatever reason, probably money, she decided to fight in BKFC, and obviously she's lost her first 2 fights. I mean, Rachel Ostovich is not some sort of boxing stud. Here's the thing. Do you even have any interest in Paige anymore, or is the BFC thing done? What do you think?
I think she could still go back to MMA and be welcomed with open arms, especially in Bellator. And I think for sure her brand has taken a little bit of a hit, but her brand is not about winning and losing.
Right.
I was never really interested in her. I've never really been interested in bare knuckle. No knock on it. I just, I'm already overwhelmed watching fucking jiu-jitsu and MMA, so I only have so much space. But, I think if she calls it quits with this, keeps doing whatever side hustles she have, which clearly, as she's explained, like that's where most of her bread is buttered, is like OnlyFans stuff. And I think she can continue doing that, especially if she keeps competing to a degree. I think if she went back to Bellator, they would give her really winnable fights. And I think MMA would still be, she would still be a draw, especially for Bellator.
I mean, she's always been just like a good wrestler and a good grappler. It's just the BKFC thing was weird. Not her forte.
For sure, not her forte. I think she just thought, well, and they probably told her, oh, you'll fight other MMA girls, right? You'll fight Rachel Ostovich. And she thought, well, maybe I can box with her. Didn't work out, though.
Did not work out. I got one more for you. Did you see Stipe Miocic and ONE FC flirting at all online?
I did.
Did you buy into that whatsoever?
No. Dude, he probably doesn't even know what. Imagine that guy in the fucking Philippines. I mean.
Fighting Arjun Buller. don't think so.
One talks just such a big game that you can't take anything, right? They're transmitted to 17 billion households across the universe and shit. Like taking credit for like charity events that they didn't even run. Like,
I know.
of course they're acting like somebody probably told Stipe Miocic that, hey buddy, we'll pay you $18 billion to come fight for us. And he's like, all right, I'll do it. And then who knows, man. I don't buy into that at all.
FC. I know a lot of people were like bugging out about it online, but I don't think so.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, here's one for the road. Little headline. Bellator 263 countdown. Pitbull. I'm going to take this boy. Oh, no. Actually, he was saying this to AJ McKee's father. I'm going to take his boy and beat his ass in front of you. Yes. You know, Pitbull's always saying crazy things. Both of those motherfuckers. They're talking about killing you in the ring and all this shit, dude. Yeah, hyped.
Pitbull is so angry. That's kind of what I love about him. Just always
fired up.
Always in go mode. Always ready to fucking fight. Always like offended by something. Always insulting. He's a fighter's fighter, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, man. This is gonna be great, man. Anything else you gotta get off your chest before we get out of here?
I think that's it, man. Watch this fight this week. I'll be in Mexico, but I'm pretty sure I'll be watching this fight live still.
Nice, dude. Well, enjoy the weather in Mexico. Enjoy the fights this weekend. And remember, Bellator Saturday night. Bellator 263, Patricio Pitbull, AJ McKee, one of the best fights of the year. Hit us with a follow and a subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast. We appreciate the support.
No escape, can step to this. Face the pain.